Somebody just wants to take a look and confirm.
I'm waiting for the notification.
We're early this week. You're welcome, YouTube.
Yes, just a bit.
There you are. We're good. You really didn't use my line? That breaks my heart. The line I wrote in the Discord.
Well, why did you write that? Let me see. I don't see a line.
Literally right underneath Wolf's very lengthy description of this episode.
Oh,
well, I thought that was just a joke.
You are a joke. You know who else is a joke?
I thought it was going to be his cold open, but I figured Sinistar's got one, so.
Yeah, who's hosting? I don't even know who's hosting.
I am.
I was going to say, swear to God, if it's me again, we're talking Mariners the entire episode.
No, I offered to do it, but it's cool.
You better pull back on the stick, because that's all we're going to talk about. I know we're here to talk about No Man's Sky, but you know what else is great? The Mariners.
Okay.
All right, so
are we ready to go?
Take it away. We're live. Hey, Sinstress.
All right. And I think it's going to be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh, no, no, no. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man, burning out his fuse up here alone. Today on...
Now that's content.
Yeah. All right.
Now, wait, now was that the Stewie version?
No,
or
that was
the William Shatner.
That was the
version?
Shatner.
That was
yeah.
Shatner.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That was Shatner. We're going deep cut, baby. I actually almost pondered. I almost pondered getting a real cigarette, but I realized that probably wouldn't work on YouTube these days.
No.
But if you watch that cut, he is puffing on that thing hard.
Yeah.
Like
well,
hard.
You know, when you're too busy shoving candy up your nose, you got to keep yourself busy somewhere.
That's true. That's true.
That's the 70s.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in to another Press Speed Cancel podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. We are talking about No Man's Sky today. The reason why it has had a very large update and has been released to Switch today. Therefore, it is apropos. I am not alone today, though. Thank you. I'm not alone today, though. I am joined by three amazing people. Two amazing people in Chard.
And me.
Shots fired.
Wow.
Chard, how are you today?
Go Mariners. Next.
I am also joined by Werewolf. Well, Werewolf, how are you today?
Wildly unprepared for the day, but let's do it.
All right. All right.
Go Mariners. Next.
Jake, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Go basketball.
Go basketball.
Yeah.
And GP is currently investigating Picard shooting first. He was last seen leaving Mos Eisley Spaceport in a Firefly-class transport vessel headed in the direction of Deep Space Nine.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
And confirm.
Yeah. All right, everybody. After we did that, we just lost all of our viewership. It's been a great podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Who needs
and,
screams of the nerds.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go watch the new Hellraiser movie. So, see you.
Oh, okay.
Tis the season, yeah.
We're going to watch Mariners highlights now for the next hour.
There you go. No, we are talking No Man's Sky. What kind of game is No Man's Sky? Well, I think in my research, the creator decided he wanted to have kind of 5 pillars. I'm going to try to pull these out of my brain space. Exploration, trading, battle, or starship battle, combat. I don't remember all of them, but he basically, and then a building game or sandbox game.
Did he also include violent illness when played in VR? Because I'll tell you what, he nailed that right on the head.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I have not had experience. Oh, go ahead.
It's honestly No Man's Sky. When somebody asks me what it is, it's just an open space sandbox for good chill vibes. That's what the game is to me. There's other stuff in there, but that's originally from release. It's just a chill sandbox game to mess around with, and that's my take on it.
And to piggyback on the chill aspect of the game, sorry, I didn't mean to poke my mic there. When you do wear the VR headset, and you can, serious, no, this is serious. there were times where I would just put the headset on and just stare off literally into space because the surroundings are absolutely stellar. Even in VR mode, it's like you want to touch all the things around you. It's really cool. And I just sat in my chair and my wife came home. She goes, "What are you doing?" I'm vibing. Leave me alone. You don't even have to do like you literally just sit there for like 15 minutes just taking it in.
He is drooling. He's got the William Shatner cigarette. He's just going mad on that.
Fucking cracker crumbs all over my shirt, wearing a sweater for no reason in the middle of summer.
When you're drooling in VR, really there's only two solutions. Either it's No Man's Sky or it's Pornhub in VR. There's really only the two. So,
all right, Chart, I want to talk about this VR thing really quickly because
I'll make it brief.
I have not pulled up my VR headset for No Man's Sky. I've only played No Man's Sky for a week and a half now.
Right.
But I did try out Elite Dangerous, which has a lot of similarities in the space flight portion. And when I put the headset on, I actually understood the scale of the cockpit and the ship. Is that a feeling? Is that similar? Do you get that similarity?
I think so. And one of the coolest things that I thought was a really neat aspect of the VR mode of playing this in that state is when you get in the cockpit, you actually slide. Like if you have the bubble cockpit, which most of us do when they start. I don't know. I know the ship's randomized. You can actually slide the cockpit window closed, and then your accelerating throttle is here, and you take your controller and you turn it sideways, and you press the button, and you can adjust your speed like that, and then you have the control stick on the other, and it's a control stick for all you creeps out there.
Back off there.
But you can, when I'm flying, and it's funny because again, my wife goes in, and I hope that's No Man's Sky, not Pornhub. Sorry, YouTube. But you're actually adjusting your pitch and your roll and all that stuff with the one handset. While this one, you push back and forth to adjust your throttle and stuff. It's really, really, I don't want to say intuitive because I think that's too much, but I think it's very detailed is what I meant to say. It's like a very detailed flight simulator. You don't just hop in and you press a button and you go flying. You actually control like a lot of the instruments when you're.
I'll say it is intuitive. When I first tried it, it was very natural, right? Like when you play Elite Dangerous in VR, Sinistar, the best way to play that is with an actual HOTAS. The actual controller in front of you.
Not visible on camera, but it's up there. Yeah.
So then they didn't want to have that forced on No Man's Sky. So actually having virtual VR controls that actually you reach out, you grab it, and you hold on to the things and control. It actually does feel fairly natural. It works surprisingly well for what it is. I did not expect to want to play it that way, but I found myself loving the controls in VR in No Man's Sky. I just wish I could still run it in VR because they've upgraded the game since then, and my computer cannot handle it in VR anymore, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. I pop a couple Dramamine and I'm shooting around space because I get so physically ill flying around in that. It's even worse on the planets, but we'll cover that later.
Jake, you actually bring up something interesting because today's update actually included what is it, FSF, whatever the Fidelity Super whatever, where they actually, it does an upscaling. Basically, it makes it easier on video cards, but makes it better on the display. And maybe that'll help with your ability to play in VR with the new patches.
Yeah, I want to try it. I did play the game for about 20 minutes today with the new update dropping this morning just to see, and it does seem fairly better on the frames. I used to have to play on standard settings for everything for graphics, but I was able to get most things at extreme or close to it. So I'll see how that goes. I might get some frame drops, but it does look like a major difference in terms of frame rate, which is fantastic because this is one of those few games where I love the look of the graphics on full graphics in detail, and I hate to dumb it down because I know how beautiful some of those planets can be. So it's great if I can take advantage of that in the frames at the same time.
When I first fired this up, you got the loading screen, right? That takes a long time for everything to load. And I was mad. I was really upset because there's a lot of stuttering in the loading screen because I didn't think of it as a loading screen. I just thought we were just zipping. Like I thought it was like a cutscene. Yeah, the stars are coming at you.
Yeah,
and it would like stutter while I'm like, come on, I have a decent video card. Maybe it's my processor. I don't know. And then it turns out it's just a loading screen and it's just a game loading. Because then when you get in there, everything's smooth and it feels a lot better. So I was like, I was like, this is horse manure. And then it turned out to not be. Listen, I'm trying here. I may have said Pornhub, but I'll tell you what, I'm trying not to curse. Um,
Pornhub
but
isn't a curse word.
it's not. It's a
No,
location. It's a noun.
it's the favorite
Um,
pastime of America. It's fine. Don't worry. It's much like your Mariners playing basketball. It's the same thing.
Go
Oh
Mariners.
boy.
Go Pornhub. Go Canadian Pornhubs. Don't spit out the water.
They are
Anyways,
Canadian
yeah, I
company.
didn't realize it
Anyway.
was a loading screen. I thought I was like really involved in
Mm.
in flying through, and then it would start to stutter. I'm like, this game's broken, and then it's not.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a really good game.
Yeah, it really only
So-
stutters in a few places, and like one is a
Right.
loading, and the other one is when you're transitioning from the surface to the space. Sometimes that will stutter,
Yeah.
but otherwise, when you land on a planet, it's seamless as you explore that
Mhm.
planet. It really is a technical marvel to see this game in action. Like it's really quite amazing. Outside the opening,
Yeah.
you don't see a loading bar at all.
So Wolf, you coming backwards, you told a little bit of a story to us. Because I think you tried it out early, didn't you?
I did. So I was pretty excited about this game when it came out. And I think at the time I ended up picking up this and oh my gosh, that RPG that's like Chrono Trigger that came out from some indie company. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Oh,
I
yeah,
Am Setsuna. That's what it was.
yeah.
So those came out around the same time. So I got I Am Setsuna and No Man's Sky. Excited for both, right? And of course I was like, well, I gotta try No Man's Sky first. So I fired it up. I start playing and jog my memory here. When you start up, does it show like is it real-time gameplay where you're going down and landing on the planet?
When you
Um,
started up,
Or yeah, or does
Oh
it start you
boy.
on the planet?
I
back at
think it
release
starts
though
you
was
on the
different.
planet.
Yeah,
Yeah, current
I thought you flew through the galaxy while it's loading, and then it finds wherever planet you're starting on, and then it zooms in on that planet, and then you're
Okay.
you're
I
So-
you're
think
down
the
there. hanging out.
current version, you actually kind of wake up with a ship and you don't know the whole story of why.
Yeah, exactly. It's different. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I think when it came out, you got to see you going down to whatever planet you were starting on. And oh boy, did my computer have trouble with that. I was playing on a gaming laptop from 2011 when I did this.
Top of the line.
So
Yeah.
it was not great. But I struggled through that opening thing to get down to the gameplay, and the game played fine for a while when I was down on the planet exploring. It was not the most exciting, but it was intriguing, so I was into it. And then when I finally got fuel for the ship and got off the planet, oh, space was a nightmare for my machine. So I ended up having to refund it
Yeah.
because there was no playing that on my machine at the time.
I'd seen the cartridge probably at GameStop for Xbox or one of them, like when it first came out, and I was like, "This looks really interesting. Like I'm really interested in it." But it was one of those games that all the reviews absolutely tore me away from doing it. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't run
Well, it
well.
was-
Like your issue you had.
It was a
It's-
travesty when it was released. It really was. This
Well,
game
part
was
of it-
absolutely blasted.
Yeah, and part of it was just simply, technical issues here and there, depending on the platform and whatnot. And part of it was because they had said they want to do this and that and the other thing, and then the game released and it didn't have this or that, just the other thing.
Right.
So
So part of that though is like the thing with No Man's Sky is it's an indie title, and that's the key thing to keep in mind is it's an indie title with an incredibly small team, and it was incredibly hyped when it was in development. It was at the Keighley's Game Awards, and then Sony had some money involved with promoting it, and these guys didn't have a proper PR team. It's really just the one guy that Sean, I think his name is, at Hello
Sean
Games.
Murray.
Sean Murray. He was pretty much the face of the company in the game. I mean, I think he still does the Twitter account to this day. And all the interviews he did, he was trying to keep that mysterious, coy kind of position with the game. And when I read in interviews from 2018, he did one with The Guardian. I think he was expecting the press to kind of like not take everything he said at face value. So when they had asked him questions about
As if
certain
the
things,
press would do that.
well, he was inexperienced with dealing with the press, and that's why even to this day they don't do very many interviews with the press. They've only recently, in the last couple of days, started doing it because the game
Hmm.
is in a much different state. But after they got slammed at release, they stopped talking to the media generally. They went silent on social media for 2 months. But now what
Yeah.
they do is they won't utter anything about what they're doing until they're ready to release it that week. Right? This
Yeah.
update this Friday, good example. They mentioned last week I think they were coming out. They didn't say what was in it. They just said it's coming. And then when they release it, they give you full amazing patch notes. But they don't
Right.
talk about things they're doing until they're ready. And that's something because of the No Man's Sky launch, a lot of other game companies now look to as an example of how not to do it because they saw the ringer they went through, right?
Well,
Well,
I
I
know
was
that
feel
we've. Oh, sorry. I know that we
I was just
talked
gonna say
about
I
doing
always
another episode where it's redemption stories, right? A
Yeah.
little bit of a spoiler for people. But I really do feel like I actually had no urge to play this game, honestly, until I started interacting with you, Jake, actually, where you're like, no, it's a great game. It's a great game. And this is back from 2016,
Yep.
right? I had such a flavor from that game where I was like, and other games that kind of like, I really wish that Cyberpunk had kind of kept their mouth shut and maybe given it another 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Something, right? And so yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that they were like wrong to do what they did, but there is definitely a learning curve with gamers in particular these days.
we
Sorry,
talked.
Chardmonk, what were you
No,
gonna
you're
say?
good. No, you're good. I was gonna say go Mariners, but then I was also gonna say
Jesus.
um the thing about them releasing the stuff like in a quiet way, like I don't want to say blindsided because blindsided kind of sounds negative, but I feel blindsided all the time when they release a new patch because like Jake said, they're like, hey, we have a patch coming out like
Mhm.
tomorrow, and you're like, oh, okay, they're probably gonna do some fixes, hot fixes or whatever. And then it turns into this huge, elaborate, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, say goodbye to the rest of your weekend because you're gonna be doing this all frickin' day.
Yeah.
Get your wife and
Right.
kids, get some food in the room and some water, stay hydrated.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
All of a sudden
bathroom nearby.
it's a 4 gig download and
Yeah.
it is 4 gigs of content,
You know,
right?
I'm
Like,
a Phasmo guy. So like when they're like, hey, we got an update, it's usually like,
yeah.
hey, I got a patch that makes it so my arm doesn't go through a door and I lose my flashlight. You know, cool. All right, awesome. No, this is
Every
like,
once
hey,
in a
guess
while, they're
what?
like, here's a new map.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
a couple weeks later. But these guys, and it's like every 3 months, it's almost clockwork. You know,
Mhm.
when I first got it, I was like, well, this is going to take the rest of my life to download because there's so many patch updates from when it first was released.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
man, it's awesome.
Like when it
What
first came
today
out,
is
I was gonna say when it first came out, there was no base building. There's no third person view, from what I
Right.
recall. None of that stuff. And then nowadays, like it's the game I can't uninstall. Every time the new update hits, I go to double check. Well, did I uninstall No Man's Sky last week? I did. Well, better download it again because I want to play his updates. Because, like Chart said, every 3 months, one update was underwater exploration sub update and base building underwater. Another one was mechs. Another one was some survival horror on derelict spaceships update. Another one completely rehauled combat. Every single update is meaty. Like you guys look at their patch notes, it's insane.
Yeah.
Even today's update, which is supposed to be just a basic ho hum update,
It was not.
there's
It
a
was not.
lot of crap in that update that was really good.
It was 6.9 gigs. My machine downloaded 6.9 gigs today.
But like everything from inventory
Good grief.
and settings for new games, you can customize the difficulty of everything now. You can make it so that stuff doesn't use resources. Some stuff gives more resources. Everything is customizable now in just one patch. Out of nowhere today, they've changed the face of this game yet again. And they said this was like a small, like basic patch, which is just mind blowing to me. Like this is the game that I was happy with 3 years ago. After 3 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm good. You know, I was one of the ones who bought it when it first came out. Yes, I was upset. 3 years later, everything that they said was in the game that I was interested in, they put in. And that includes everything from base building to multiplayer. And I'm like, you know, I'm good. But they keep adding more to the game. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's a
Is
prize in size, like every
Yeah.
single time.
is the game still selling well enough to fund all these patches? Because we're today, if I counted correctly, today's patch marks the 22nd major patch of this game since its release, which
Well,
is a lot. Like, and
FYI,
we're not talking just bug fixes. We're talking like big, massive rollout of content, right?
I was gifted this a week and a half ago. And literally, I threw it on my wish list, and one of my local friends, like the next day or whatever, was like, "Here you go, have fun." And then yesterday, Brother of Sin bought it. I gifted it to Sinstress today. So like right off the bat, there's 3 in my circle. There's 3 purchases in my circle.
So when it first came out,
Wow.
they were looking at releases around the same window, and it was like Far Cry Primal and a few other ones. They were expecting 10,000 purchases on day one. That's what they expected. They had 500,000. They had 500,000 buys in the first week or something ridiculous. So that's one of the reasons why it's some technical issues with their servers is they did not expect so many people to be online using their game. They only expected 10,000. So it was widely popular. And every time they do a major update, because of the way they do their updates, and they are so substantial, and it's that story of a shitty game that people passed on, and then now seeing how it's been modified and updated and changed, and now the reviews are so positive, more and more people jump on that game. And it goes on sale, but even on sale, it's still like $20-30. So they're still making bank on this game.
It's on sale right now for $30.
Yeah, I think it used to go on sale for under 30 back in the early days when it would go on sale, but ever since it found its footing and there's been like no more hard feelings about the game for most people, I don't think it's gone under 30 since.
Yeah. And that's fair. There's a lot in this game. Like I've put a couple hundred hours in this game easily, and I haven't seen mechs, I haven't seen half the stuff in this game. There's so much stuff I never got around to. But it's just a game I always come back to and start all over again, and it just feels so different.
As busy as I am, and you guys know I don't get a lot of time to play games, I've had this a week and a half, and I have almost 10 hours in it already.
This is how this goes. We talk about it. I watched, I wanted it. I found out about it from Jimmels from Middle Age Stream. Now, I didn't find out about it. I knew about it, but I watched him play because a patch had come out, and I think it was the one where you could ride creatures. Like that was the new patch that had been released. And there was I thought some Star Wars references in there. Speaking of our reference this morning, he's one of the collective nerds screaming about our opening. But I watched him and I was like, this looks cool. Like, I don't know why everybody was talking so much noise about this. This looks cool. So I said, screw it. I'm just gonna go pick it up. And then Jake, same thing. Jake was like, "You're getting No Man's Sky. Play No Man's Sky. Do it." Like he was the peddler, the peddler of space to me. And so I jumped in it and we streamed it. And I was like, "This is dumb and fun. I like that." I mean, it's not dumb. It's just it's so simple. I mean, because you land on a planet and then you're looking for stuff to get your ship off the planet. And you literally do whatever, like within reason, do whatever you want. There's missions, but it's a very I've never beaten it because I didn't know there was like a mission. I literally I was a sandbox. I'm just gonna fly from planet to planet and see if I can put a donut in the middle of this freaking world. I'm gonna take my dig ray out and just shoot straight in the middle and see how far I can get. You know, that was, and you could do that. They'd let you do that. There didn't have to be like a direction to go, and I appreciated that because at the time I was like, I just don't want to think, and they're like, good, because we got the perfect game for you. You don't have to think about nothing.
It kind of feels like this game has become a 3D version of what Starbound was when it came out. And if you're unfamiliar with Starbound, it's kind of like a multiplanetary interstellar.
It's Terraria in space.
Yeah,
it's Terraria in space.
And I mean, that's like saying Terraria is like Minecraft. Obviously, there's a number of differences in how the games play, but
done poorly.
It seems like this is a 3D version of what Starbound was going for, which is wild to me, given what it lacked at release. And I just looked it up. Apparently, as of June, this game has sold 10 million copies.
There are many AAA titles that have not even got close to 10 million sales.
I was going to say, so they have no money to continue developing this.
They're broke. They're done.
Yeah.
Wow. They're put themselves out of business with this kind of stuff.
That poor development group.
Yeah, they're hurting bad.
That's the Minecraft story, right? That sold 10 million copies while it was still in beta, right?
Yeah,
alpha, I think.
Alpha.
Yeah.
You mean it's not a beta?
No, not. It probably sold a bunch in beta. It sold quite a bit in alpha though. That's when I bought it was alpha.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, tangents.
I got in on the $15 level, which I think was beta.
I have still never played Minecraft because it still looks like it's an alpha to me.
So when I look at,
we're just
when I look
making
at-
those nerds cry. That's what I'm here to do. Go Mariners!
Go Mariners! Go Mariners!
Go Mariners. So this game is like the
Cricket.
This is like the golden ticket, right? This is the ideal indie game, right? This came out at a time when a lot of indie games were experimenting with procedural generation, right? Everybody saw what Minecraft did, because Minecraft, bash the graphics all you want, but at the end of the day, it's a very simplified gameplay.
Retro inspired. I get it.
Sure,
and the graphics aren't what bugged me about it, but that's a whole other episode.
It's easy to pick up and play and understand. It's a building game. There's some combat in a game, but the procedural generation means that only one guy originally didn't have to worry about level creation. It just happened auto-magically. And that's what No Man's Sky is. They built this great toolkit of gameplay, and then all the universe is procedurally generated. And that's the key for this. This is like what I wish Spore was back in the day for those who played Spore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they promised procedural generation in Spore, but they pulled it out at the last minute. They couldn't do what they wanted to do. But here we have No Man's Sky, which has a quintillion planets, I think is what they quoted.
18 quintillion.
18 quintillion. All the plants, all the animals are all procedurally generated.
That is 18 plus 11 zeros.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And it's all procedural. I mean, there's a lot of similarity, but still. You've seen 4.
I've seen like 12. I've made it to like 4 systems.
It's crazy.
There was a time when I just took the freighter and I spent 4 or 5 hours trying to find the perfect planet to build a base on. So I went through maybe 50 systems looking at every planet to find one I liked. So I've seen a large amount of planets, and there are similarities, but the more recent patches to the game have really increased the variety, right? Like, I mean, I still get floored with something new. Like just this morning, I found a planet with purple volcanoes. It was all dark and fluorescent lava coming out of the volcanoes. It was
I need you to send me a screenshot.
I want to see that.
Send me a screenshot.
But it's wild how everything looks different. I still get a laugh whenever I'm on a planet I'm harvesting and I'm shooting this rock to get, whatever iron dust out of it, and it jumps out of the ground on insect legs and skitters off. I've seen that a couple times, right? So
I've never seen that.
So like, there's always something surprising in this game. Or like the one planet I think I told one of you guys, it was all grayscale, like all black and white.
Yeah.
But then there's these red bubbles, and you could mine the bubbles. I think it was carbon for the bubbles, but it was just so random and so strange. But the deeper you go into the game, the farther you go into the universe, the closer to the center of the galaxy, the weirder the planets get. Like the generation of planets is just never ending, and it's so cool.
I like the environmental threat thing. I thought that was really funny. Well, not funny, but it's cool. But when we first started playing it, and I got the warning, go hide somewhere. Things are going to get real.
You're about to get. I think
Jake was watching me, and I was like, "All right." So he's like, "Dig into the ground." So I dug into the ground, and I'm sitting there in my little hidey hole, and it says it says the temperature on the bottom there, right? Where it says negative 69.8, 69, dude. But go Mariners. So I'm looking at it, and it says 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was like, bruh. Really? That's the weather? And I'm like, screw this. So I walk out. I'm like, it's 86. 200 something degrees. Oh, okay. It's 86 in the hole. Get back down in there. And I like that. I like the panic that sets in when you're like, oh no, there's a weather system coming through. I need to get myself somewhere safe, either in my ship. Like Sinistar was telling us, he was like hiding in his ship, and he'd start to mine around it because he didn't know you can hide in the ground. So he'd be mining like around his ship because he couldn't fly it. He didn't have the materials to fly it yet. And he'd go and sit in his ship while it was going down. Well, I'm making gopher holes throughout this planet and still proceeding as I'm digging through, waiting for the weather to calm the F down. That's the other thing, is that it's got different ways and styles of playing it. You can go and do whatever you want, like however you want to approach something. I like that versatility that allows.
There's nothing quite like finding a paradise planet, a beautiful, amazing planet, and you touch down like, I'm going to build a freaking home here. This planet's amazing. And then within 10 minutes, you get super hot rain weather, and you have to run for your life before you die.
Yep.
And
So
it's just so frustrating because you want that planet to be your base, but you can't live there.
that's what happened to me. That's not that I was trying to find a place to live, but I had jumped systems. I'd run out of hyperjet fuel. I landed on this planet, or no, I landed on this planet and I'd run out of launch fuel.
Yep.
Right. And I get out and everything's hunky dory. I'm running around. I'm trying to find dihydrogen, which is on every planet. But in some planets, it's not nearly as prevalent, right?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time finding this. And all of a sudden, it's like storm incoming. I'm like, okay, I've got a little bit of time. No, all of a sudden, like the temperature ramps up to like 150 C. And like my suit is like, ooh, and then it's like all of a sudden my health starts. I'm like, run for that ship. I should have dug in. I didn't realize this is the story. I should have dug in. I didn't realize to dig in. By the way,
So
for those that are watching the podcast, you saw Werewolf and I making some gestures. I just bought it for him.
yeah, I looked over and saw like a pop up of a gift of No Man's Sky on Steam. I was like, all right, cool, thank you.
I
Very
thought you were
surprising.
sending him the scores of the Mariners and the Blue Jays game.
It's funny because it
Stop.
popped up while I was researching, and I apologize. I did miss like 2-3 minutes of the conversation, but again, I've not played a ton of this game, so I do have a question regarding the weather in this. But I do want to mention, but you know what? Let's talk about the weather real quick first.
Yes.
How is the
if you
weather out
build
there?
structures, do those protect you from the outside weather if you're inside of a structure you've built?
If it's fully
It
enclosed,
depends.
yes.
Yes.
It depends on the structure. If I'm remembering right, because I think the base structure is just like carbon, wood, whatever, and I have a feeling heat doesn't get solved with that one.
No,
but-
it'll still protect you from the elements as long as it's
Will it?
enclosed. But
Mhm.
I've built really large buildings, and if it's a bit on the really large side and there's not enough walls, like if it's one big huge cube, think Amazon warehouse. Some spots used to glitch and you'd still get hit by the weather, but it's only certain spots. But
That's
overall,
actually just
yes.
like an Amazon building. Actually.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just like an Amazon warehouse, the
make
elements
it
can still
big
hit
enough,
you.
You get hit with the 200-degree
You have to pee in
noxious
You
weather.
have to pee in a bottle.
You do.
That's a survival
Now-
aspect.
Thanks, Bezos.
I should touch on why I missed a chunk of the conversation, and it's because I remembered a lawsuit that Hello Games was approached with back after this game came out. I don't know if any of you guys remember this,
No.
but
no.
the
No.
formula they used for procedural generation, known as a super
Ooh.
formula, they apparently were hit with a lawsuit regarding that because it was owned by a firm in another country or a person. I can't find specifics on this because
Did they actually
everything I can
steal-
find on this is super vague.
Did they
and-
actually steal the algorithm, or was it just close enough that it was like, hey, cease and desist because it looks like what we're doing?
Honestly, I can't find any articles other than Hello Games slapped with a lawsuit over this formula. Like, there's no follow up to it. I was looking, I couldn't find
There
anything.
may
So
have-
I don't know
there may
how
have
it turned
been-
out, if it settled or if
Is
it was
it-
thrown out or what.
Is it
There may have
subtle
been-
or is it Queen versus Vanilla Ice?
Well, if it's settled, there's often a gag order involved with the settlement.
right.
So we may
Maybe.
not ever see it if it was settled.
Yeah, it's true. But like sometimes, like if it's settled, you'll at least hear, "Hey, it was settled." But I can't
Yeah.
find anything other than the
Whoopsie
initial
doodle.
articles saying, "Hey, they're being sued over this formula," which at the time I was like, "Wow!" Like you'd have
Hello
to be
Games. Go
for
ahead.
such an elaborate formula to steal that verbatim
Yeah.
would be kind of a dick move, especially when you could change a few things and just it's alien planets anyway. Who gives a shit? But
Yeah, we
I
don't know
don't
what they
think
look
it's
like.
that.
It doesn't have to be accurate.
No, I
So
think it's more that they looked at the technology, like the idea of procedurally generating a universe. I could see as another company who tried that in the past, saying, "Oh, these guys did it. Well, we have a
Mhm.
trademark on procedural universe generation." I could see that being the
Right.
lawsuit, because like the
Well,
thing
it
with
was
No
from-
Man's Sky is that a lot of companies wanted to do what they've done with procedurally generating these universe and planets, like EA or BioWare with Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda. They actually originally wanted to do procedural generation of planets for the new game, but they couldn't pull it off in their engine. So like, there's very few game companies that have managed to do what Hello Games has done.
So I've dealt
Wild.
with patents in my previous career, and one of those things that kind of comes up is you wouldn't believe how frequently toasting bread is patented, right? And
Because it's
like,
the greatest thing
not,
since sliced bread.
yeah, I'm not kidding. Like toasting bread is
No, I believe
patented
it.
all the time, right? And so I gotta
That's
wonder.
ridiculous.
The problem is like it depends on how detailed the patents are, right? Like if somebody had put in the algorithm and patented the algorithm, we probably wouldn't be talking about it, right? But I'm sure that they probably a system designed to do X, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
the
so,
articles I was
like it's
finding were
broader.
talking. It did seem to point to a fairly simple formula that can be used to describe anything from a star shape to a sphere to
Mm,
whatever. Like it's called a super formula because it can describe all sorts of things for some reason. And I am not smart enough to understand how that works, but
That's what
I am
keeps the
curious.
planets round and not flat.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
Wait,
it's kind of
planets are
wild that
round?
happened.
Yeah.
So it just makes you wonder. And we'll probably never get an answer to this, or maybe 30
Yeah.
years from now, somebody will be like, "Hey, remember that game No Man's Sky? This is what happened with that lawsuit." I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Gag order will expire and we'll finally get some details.
yeah,
Yeah.
The things you can do. I mean, it's mind blowing because I didn't realize half of the stuff that you can do when I started playing this game. Like I just assumed it was just poke around and look for stuff. But I mean, you saw the rover, the Earth rover. There are the
Yeah.
mechs. You can walk
Yeah.
around in the robots. Which, by the way, when you walk around the robots in VR, don't, because that's
No?
worse than flying in space. I don't
Really?
get it, dude. Anything on the surface with VR,
Oh,
sicker than a dog.
I have
Driving
a
around the
feeling it's
rover,
just like
weird.
it's this
sicker than a
move-
dog.
It's
Yeah.
this fast movement and then pause and fast, and you're like,
Yeah, when you jump, like when you use the jetpack to propel yourself up
Oh, yeah.
in VR,
Mm.
your body's like, son, you ain't doing that. And then chunks get
You're-
blown. But if you're in space, you're at least
your inner ear doesn't agree.
no. And when you're in space, you're at least I'm looking around. It's
Yeah.
not as bad. I can handle that for short spurts. But I couldn't believe getting on the ground was worse than flying around in space with that stupid thing on.
So there's a
But
By the
move
way,
man, is
in
it
No Man's
cool.
Sky where if you do the melee attack and jetpack at the same time, you get like a jump forward. It's a really great way to fly across the surface of planets. You do that in VR and then you fall off the cliff for the first time, you'll never do it ever again.
Yep.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
I
Like
have
the
a
sense of
friend-
scale is great.
I have a friend that gets sick watching first person shooter games. Like he can't play first person shooter games. He gets sick.
VR is
That's-
just a different leg. I don't know. Like I can get on a boat just fine, but I'll tell you what, putting a thing on for extended periods of time and I'm not standing. If I'm sitting, it's worse too. But this isn't a VR episode. I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
Well,
Put my
coming
toes
back
outside.
really quick, what I touched on with Elite Dangerous is like Elite Dangerous, you look at the cockpit and you've got like the struts and the A-arms and whatever, right? And you put on the headset and all of a sudden they gain depth and you realize that this cockpit isn't like you and the windscreen. It's like you and the windscreen, right?
Yeah.
Well, windscreen, space screen, right?
Right.
Non-windscreen. I guess air containment screen. But like you see like everything kind of gets depth of field, right? And I want to come back. That's how it looks in No Man's Sky.
Yes, it does. And I also thought this was really cool, and Jake can back me up on this, is when you're in the cockpit and you got that field of death, like I felt like everything was right in front of me. And I actually hit my hand on the desk a couple times because I was reaching for the throttle, so I had to back up. But when you look behind you, and I remember saying this to myself because I was just looking around the cockpit, and there's stuff behind you in the ship. It's not just a wall. Like there's stuff behind you, and I'm like, wow, there's stuff back here. You wouldn't see it normally.
That is Elite Dangerous. You get the ability to turn around, and there is like a hallway into the ship behind you. Like you're like, oh yeah. It's very much that. Wait, there's more than just like a blank wall behind me, right?
The depth of detail is incredible.
And that's how you know it's immersive is when you're in a combat situation and you can look up out your cockpit and see the enemy ship you're trying to reach. That's when you get that real VR, like, oh shit, this is amazing. And there's only a handful of games that do this. Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky does it. There's a couple that do it, but it's amazing.
I think Star Wars TIE Fighter. Is it TIE Fighter? No, the Squadrons.
Squadrons. Yes. Same idea.
They have a very similar, but those are only the 3 VR flight simulated games that I have played before, and I use heavy quotes on those because there's more to it than that. But the No Man's Sky is, and I think it's leaps and bounds better because there's so much more to it than just flying around. There's getting involved, and like I said, I sat in my chair for 15 minutes with my stupid headset on, just like looking into space. Yeah.
Sounds like this is making a comeback.
It might need to. I've been trying to get you to put that thing on for months.
I am not playing Devour. You were playing Devour.
I meant Phasmo, but I'd give you Phasmo, but you should play Devour with me too.
All right.
For
those that are listening, I pulled out my VR headset and was showing it.
So being an active audience here, you guys mentioned something earlier that really piqued my interest. The horror element in
I'm interested in that too.
Station? What is this? Explain this to me.
Yes, fill us in, Jake. I've not heard this one.
Yeah,
so when the game in and I haven't seen this. So
it's so when the game first came out in 2016, the space stations were pretty much barren. There was very little there. Sorry. But they've been slowly adding more and more stuff on the stations to do and check out, and they added missions, and then a couple updates ago they added special missions where you actually go to a derelict freighter. You get coordinates, you go there, and when you're on this derelict freighter, it's like a Resident Evil or Dead Space type vibe. Ooh. Is it as deep as those games? Of course not. It's No Man's Sky. No. But you're slowly making your way through the ship, and there's these creepy like elements like in each of these rooms, and you're going room by room, trying not to set off the creatures from attacking you. And it's like a maze quarter situation. It's been a while since I've done it, but it's got a creepy horror vibe. Really tough encounters if you trigger the attacks, and at the end of it, you get quite a bit of reward at the end if you get all the way through. It's really cool. And it's just a mission on the station. So I think you can do it fairly early on, but it was very difficult until you get an upgraded weapon, is from what I remember.
The only space stations I've ever gone on to are kind of the system space stations where you can do trade and missions and whatever. This is where this is?
Yeah, so on that station,
you said it's
one of the guys Well, one of the vendors on that station they don't call it horror thing, but they have special missions for derelict freighters, and then that will help lead you toward one of them. So it's like a whole mission thing. It's really great. I mean, I hope they do that and expand it and do more with that kind of stuff, because that's the kind of stuff that, going back to Minecraft for a second, I like Minecraft, but there's no real dungeons. There's dungeons, but they're not real dungeons. They're pretty basic. So when
Endgame is tacked on to Minecraft, right?
So like this derelict freighter stuff, it's like it's the adding dungeons to No Man's Sky. This is what it is, and I love it. And it's a really great vibe. I just wish there's more of it.
This may be my day tomorrow.
It might be all our days tomorrow.
I feel like I kind of feel like I'm gonna have to steal the kiddo's Oculus and play it in VR a little bit if my machine can handle that much.
Yeah.
Man, I don't have the base stations set up in this room. I may have to set up the base stations. So
I just plugged all my stuff back in, but I don't feel like getting sick tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, tonight we're watching Hellraiser. If you're watching this later, today is the day that Hellraiser 2022 is being released.
It's exactly like No Man's Sky. Perfect reference.
No.
Go Mariners.
Actually, well, I was about to ask if it was like Event Horizon, but it sounds like it's not. It sounds like it's more like Alien Isolation.
Yeah, but more like they don't move around the ship. They're just kind of static elements in each room that you're trying to tiptoe around. So it's kind of like Alien, that kind of vibe. Small corridors, room to room, but it's a really good atmosphere.
What was that?
The atmosphere is like this
Within?
Game.
Yeah,
I don't think I've played
Evil Within. I have.
Yeah, but it's like the horror elements are kind of like static to the area.
Yes.
in Evil
Yeah.
Within, if I remember right. Right, Chard? Like you go into an area and there's kind of a monster or creepy or something, right?
Yeah, mostly in the first one. Like it's kind of a boxed area where there's
Mhm.
a certain amount of enemies. It's like Resident
Yeah.
Evil, honestly, where
Yeah.
you're walking and they just kind of. I don't want to say they stay in the location, but the game's designed so that they can't leave where they're at. So it's kind of similar to that, I guess.
Quick segue. Evil Within, I think it's Evil Within, has one of the best intros ever.
Ooh, it's a good game. It's a good series.
Anyway.
So
Another game, another topic.
can I mention that I find the sheer scope of this game at this point, it's pretty massive. Am I correct in stating that?
Yes.
18 quintillion planets.
Is it just me or okay, who remembers a game called Star Citizen?
Yes.
Well,
I
it's
remember
not out
Star
yet,
Citizen.
right?
It's still
well,
in
it's-
development,
Yeah.
but it's been
It
in
was-
development for 12 years.
It was kickstarted and then they released some level of something. Anyway.
And it got crowdsourced and private funded. And the game is still in development, and it's weird because it seems like it's splintered off into 4 different games at this point, which I don't
You all
understand.
right, Jake?
Yeah, I'm good.
It seems like No Man's Sky does at least most of what Star Citizen wanted in one package instead of multiple separate packages.
I've
And
seen
it's-
tropes that talk about how Elite Dangerous with its updates and No Man's Sky with its updates are like what Star Citizen should be. I've seen those tropes.
The difference with Star Citizen though is that they wanted to have like the first person shooter aspect of the game be just as deep as Doom or similar. That's what they were trying to do. Whether they do it or not, who knows? I mean, there'll be another 20 years before that game comes out. No Man's Sky has shooting and combat. It has base building. It has cooking and farming animals. It has probably a dozen different systems in the game, and it's great that they're there. But when I say sandbox for those, it's kind of like a sandbox, but it only goes so deep. It's kind of shallow in some of those systems, and that's why I say like even the horror derelict freighters. I wish there was more. I'm glad it's there, but I wish there was more. Combat in this game, you're mostly fighting the same enemies, the Sentinels. They've since added a couple new mobs to the game, but it's not really a first-person shooter, even though there's a fair amount of weapons you can buy and add to your tool, but it's not quite a first-person shooter. I think Star Citizen wants to take that and go further with it, but they've been in development for so long. Like it's crazy.
And a lot of the combat, I think, takes place in space. Like that's where they're kind of your combat bread and butter is flying around fighting off space pirates and whatnot. There's aggressive creatures that are on the planets. There's the drones that Jake mentioned as well. But and by no means, in my personal opinion, does this feel like an action shooter where you're like, I'm going to get my feet, I'm going to get my ammunition, and I'm just going to go out there and just destroy everything. It does not. Even when you're in combat, unless you're flying around, doesn't feel like that. It's very like, oh, this guy won't stop, leave me alone, I'll blow him away, and then keep farming or keep doing whatever it is you were doing.
Yeah.
Like the first time I upgraded my weapon in No Man's Sky, I didn't bother for maybe 20 hours. It was only when I found these eggs on one planet, and when you touch the eggs, creatures come out of the ground and attack you, and they're brutal. So that was the
Like
first time I went back to the
facehuggers.
station. Yeah, I went straight to the station, got the best weapon I could afford, upgraded it with whatever different shots, and then I went down and took those damn eggs. But that was the only reason I felt I needed to upgrade a
Screw
weapon.
you, buddy. I'm
Yeah.
going to get a new gun. I'll be back.
I'll be back. Yeah.
You stay right there, egg creatures. I'll be
I
back.
want eggs.
Worth a lot of money, man. It's good.
Yeah, there.
Ooh, you guy. Mm.
But there's still a lot to learn from playing. I mean, it's not like I'm an experienced or aficionado of this at all, by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, there's like ships you can buy that are on other planets, and you can trade for stuff, and you can.
Yeah.
Once you understand the actual like the anomaly where you can go and get all your purchased your items and whatnot, there's just so much. And the one thing that was mildly bothersome to me was the lack of, I don't want to say direction, but direction.
Yeah.
The lack of like, what am I even doing? If it wasn't for Jake, I don't think I'd ever get off the planet, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not a smart man. So you can't be left to my own devices to find these things.
the quest system, since I started it, a week and a half ago, and from what I understand, they've even in this update they've actually updated the start game quest system.
They did.
But the quest system has given me a lot of direction, so that is better. That is better for sure. But there is still a lot of like, even though the quest is like, hey, go try this thing or go triangulate your position, I'm like, why? And so there is a level of that.
And don't get me wrong, it wasn't like a deal breaker. It was just kind of like, when I play sandboxes, when I play GTA, when I play Red Dead Redemption, I have a really hard time like focusing on one task because there's a lot of shiny moments, flying around, running around, doing whatever. This game has a ton of shiny moments because I'll be walking, I'll be like, oh, look, there's a cache over here. I should probably break in and see what's in here. Oh, look, I need these items to make my ship fly. Oh, look, there's blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, shiny squirrel. There's a lot of those experiences where I'm like, it's not good for someone that is easily distracted by things. So
the ADD effect is poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy to, and I don't believe myself to be ADD or ADHD or any of that stuff. I could very possibly be, but after describing this episode, I'll probably be diagnosed as one. But at least like
I've been meaning to talk to you.
Yeah, meds are in the mail. I just, like kind of narrow my path at first, and then let me go. Tell me how to get better weapons. Tell me how to upgrade my ship or make it cool and customize it. Tell me how to do all that stuff instead of having me go, oh, I just found this thing lying around. Oh, it's the greatest thing for my suit environmental stuff. I can build a better suit environmental. No one told me I could do that. Like Jake said, how many hours in before you upgraded your weapon until you found out you needed it? I mean, tell me that stuff in advance, or at least like let me get C-class stuff or B-class stuff, and then we can start hunting for the S-class things.
Like one of the things they changed in this update, sorry, Wolf, real quick, is there's a thing called signal booster. It's like one of the equipment you can build and put on a planet. They don't really tell you what it's for originally, but one of the things you use it for is you can use it to find like it's drop pods on your map, and then you go to that drop pod because you'll have a waypoint now.
Spoilers.
No, it's fine. When you go to the drop pod, now it's on your map, you can use it to buy inventory space in your suit. That's what it's for. So when you want more,
that would have been nice to freaking know. Yeah.
But they don't tell you that, right? They don't tell you
that.
So
I didn't even know I could increase my inventory. And I hate inventory management.
I was going to talk about how inventory management sucks in this game.
Yeah, it's rough at first.
Oh, my audio cut out.
No, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Weird.
Yeah. Anyway, Wolf, what were you going to say, Wolf, while Jake's dealing with his audio? Oh, did we lose Wolf?
He's frozen.
No, I'm here.
There you are.
I see you. What were you going to say, Wolf?
Yeah. My audio dropped off. I apologize. I had to turn off my headphones and turn it back on to get it back.
Okay.
Oh, with bases, is there a purpose to base building? Does it serve a larger purpose than this is my place and I've built it? What?
Yes.
Not that I have found so far. Well, other than storage, because okay, we're past 10 minutes. Fuck inventory management in this game. And I basically, the minute I had a storage box, I'm like, build that son of a bitch. and so like literally my base is like, I need to get out of the elements, which is rare on my home planet, or I need to go put some shit away so I have some space to like add stuff. And every upgrade takes a space.
Yep.
So
also, all the inanimate carbon objects that I keep digging up through the dirt when I'm trying to get to.
I can't tell you how much like ferrite dust I have dropped, and every time I drop it, like later, I'm like, boy, that'd be nice to build some metal plates.
Right.
So that's what you build refineries for, right? You can build different size refineries, and you can actually, some people, I think there's a way you can automate it to be like a mini factory with chain them together. But you can take resources and condense it down to a secondary resource as a way of storing stuff. And like, I'm going to use like ferrite, and it's pure ferrite, and then pure ferrite turns into something else, and it takes less space up. So that's what you're kind of meant to do, and you can do that in your base. When I get into this game heavy, I'll have multiple refineries in a building, And then you get in storage, like you said, you have your teleport portal thing, you have your farm stuff to make food. Like there's all kinds of stuff you can put into a base. Again, not too exhaustive, but there's definitely stuff you can do with a base. But the big one is your research computer, right? And that's how you that and they explain it a little bit now in the game now tutorial.
Yeah.
Where you're meant to dig up those modules and then get research with your research, and then you unlock new things to build. But it's not
there
always
are quest paths that basically push you to go back to your research computer and do another thing.
Yeah.
You can also learn languages out, like when you see those little cylinders with the circles in them.
I'm just working on languages now.
Yep.
So yeah.
That's pretty cool. But the telepad, like you could essentially never fly your ship. I mean, unless you want to fly around space and whatnot, you can literally just stay on one planet, build a telepad, and then pop in and out of whatever anomalies in the area. You know,
as long as it has, because each planet has different resources, right? And so if you are on a good planet, and most, from what I've seen, the starting planets, it tends to pick fairly rich planets as your starting planets, right?
Disagree.
Disagree. Well, you haven't played recently though, and so
no,
this
I haven't,
is yeah. And so, like my home planet, I don't have uranium, but I have the aspects to be able to refine to like hyperspace fuel. I do have that aspect, so I think it gives you, at least on your home planets, most of the time it gives you a path to at least getting your spaceship, out in space and to another planet or to another galaxy.
And half the fun is flying around and seeing the planets. I mean, honestly, that's a big turn on for me. So
now, thank God for the teleporter. Oh, thank God for the teleporter. Because I can't tell you how many times I end up in another system and I'm like, I either have to go refine hyperspace fuel, or I'm just going to go to that space station and use the damn teleporter.
Do you have a freighter, Sinistar, or no?
Not yet. I think I have the ability now to purchase one, but I'm still like sub 100,000 credits. So,
because the freighter will let you warp. I found it easier and it goes farther, if I remember. And I just used to make the fuel in bulk and leave it on the freighter, so I'd have to worry about carrying it. So I would just make it in bulk and always have it, and then just warp with the freighter. And I found that easier to move around. That's how I explored a lot of different planets quickly.
Freighter was my high school nickname.
I'm sure.
I was going to say, I remember when I was poor.
Getting all sorts of starter tips here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you're going to get some, good things laid out. And once you get on the planet, I think you're going to be like, oh, okay, I didn't have to worry about all the finding where everything is or looking for whatever parts you need and stuff. You'll have a good direction.
It's a good point, because Jake, you talked to me about this in, I think, MP, or at least on Discord or something. But if you start a new game, go through the main quest until you get to the point where you can, trying not to give spoilers here, but to the point that you can call the anomaly spaceport, the space anomaly, at will. After that, there's a lot of quest after it, but that really unlocks the majority of the game.
That's like the multiplayer hub, basically, as well. I haven't really done much in the way of multiplayer, but a lot of vendors and information is in the anomaly. But once you have that, it's called the Atlas Path, and whether you do it or not, you don't have to. It's completely optional, right? Like, it's one of those games where you just set your own goals. Like, I did have the goal of finding the perfect planet I could build a racetrack on, because you get the rovers and the motorcycle thing that they go freaking fast. So I wanted to build a racetrack. I wanted the perfect planet for it. So that was my goal for the longest time. But you can do whatever you want in this game. And that's so great that this is a game where it's just the Zen-like, chill, do whatever the hell you want, right? If you want combat, it's there. If you want to build like Minecraft, it's there. But otherwise, just explore planets and relax. It's great.
You can also go to the anomaly and get the I-1s really bad, because you see a lot of other players, like cool spaceships and costumes and skins and stuff, and you're like, damn, I want that.
There's organic spaceships now, and it's crazy stuff now. There's a lot of stuff in it.
Honestly, I'm gonna probably be playing this a good portion of tomorrow, just because it is addictive. It is addictive.
It is. It is very addictive. I actually had to install, much like Jake had to uninstall mine so I can get some of the things done, because it's just, you get buried in it and you can't stop because you just keep looking for stuff and you get that shiny moment. It's the exact thing. It's a whole squirrel thing where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do these couple things. I'm gonna call it a night, and then it's 4 a.m. and you're like, oh,
What was I doing 2 hours ago? Oh yeah, I was
I
digging
literally.
fish. Oh,
Yeah, I got to go back and get the rest of that. I didn't finish what I was doing, but I got a giant base to work with. It's you just keep getting sucked into so many different things you can do because there's too much stuff. It's like AM PM. There's just too much good stuff.
What are you gonna
Not
say, Wolf?
sponsored. I
Not
was gonna
yet.
ask, do planets have satellites that you can also explore and land on?
Not that I've seen.
Not that I've seen
moons?
either.
Yeah,
You're
like
talking
moons.
like moons and stuff. No, not that
No.
I've seen.
No.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, there's
Um,
in each galaxy
not
so
yet.
far. Correct me if I'm wrong, but each galaxy I've explored has a base or has a space station. So there is a space station in each galaxy, but it's
Okay.
not tied. It's not circling any like it. Well, maybe it's circling a planet, but it
Nothing
feels like
rotates,
it's just kind of
unfortunately.
out in space, right?
But there's
Yeah.
within each like galaxy you show up at, there's like an estimated like 2 planets to like 5 planets or something
Yeah.
you can
Or
you
more,
can
I
go in
think.
between. Oh, maybe
Yeah.
more. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
from
I've
what I've seen, there's
seen
like I always see there's like
6 at most.
four planets together where I can be like you can scan them while you're flying and be like,
Yeah.
this one looks good, and it'll have stuff like toxic planet, vegetation planet,
Low
perfect
oxygen.
planet, low oxygen, water planet. It'll give you like when you scan it, it'll give you an idea. So if you're like, oh, I want to land here and check it out, maybe build my base here or go and farm whatever's there because it'll tell you like the minerals that you'll more likely find there. That's not to say that's the only thing you'll find there, but
Yeah.
they're in abundance there. So it can make it a little bit easier for when you start out if you're farming for a specific thing. You can
I'm
jump
going to
around
warn
and find it.
you. I'm going to warn you when there's a planet that says high sentinel activity.
Don't go there.
Don't
Be
go there.
careful. Be careful.
I mean, you can if you want to
Yeah.
if you want to shoot them down because when you're flying around planets too, not only in space does your stuff work,
Oh, they
but
follow you.
you can
Yeah.
can fly and shoot them down with your spaceship. You don't have to just get out and start blasting them. You can
Well, and they'll
you can
follow
hit them
you
with some
into
rockets
space.
if you want to.
They'll follow you into space too.
They will.
Like,
They
yeah.
will. But if you're faster than them, which you should be, you'll be fine.
It's wild too. with the
Another question
planets.
I had.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
I was just say some of the planets just like there's different colored stars like suns, and that also affects the types of planets you find. The
Mhm.
closer to the center of the galaxy you get, the weirder they get. Like there's unstable planets, I think it is one of them, or the
Yeah.
one I found was just a barren wasteland, except for these floating like metallic rings. And some of them were sentient, moving around, and some of them were actually resources you harvested. But it was the weirdest thing. Like
Huh.
you look at some of the videos and trailers, and you see a lot of like normal looking alien planets, but there's some weird, strange stuff
Normal.
in this game. Yeah, normal, but like the bubbles and gears flying, and just it's a lot of really crazy variety. One was a planet full of hexagons, just hexagons everywhere. It was the weirdest thing. It makes no sense,
Have,
and they're
That's
mine
have you
awesome.
guys
right?
been to? Have you guys been to the Hexagon planet? Damn, that place is awesome.
I've been to isn't it like Hexacon, Nebraska?
Yes.
Something like
Uh-huh.
I hear they
Man,
have a lot of 6 there.
that?
And the strip joints. Wow.
Number of the beast.
That lady had so many sides.
I got so many sides. I
Uh,
don't know which one's the bad one.
So is the freighter the biggest transport you can get your hands on? Is there bigger? What's the biggest thing you can buy that travels through space?
So the freighter is more like a mobile base. I think, yeah, Jeff in chat said it best. It's your mobile base of operations, and you can build
Okay.
on it, you can construct on it, storage, and you can have it
Oh,
move
okay.
between systems. In terms of like ships you actually fly, there are like cargo ships that are quite large, but they're still like one person crafts, really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think
But
it
the
just
freighter,
defended.
you said you can make the freighter bigger.
It's on the outside, it's the same size, but inside of it, you can actually construct rooms and customize the
Yep.
rooms
It's
like
a
a mini base.
TARDIS. It's a TARDIS.
Kind of,
I
yeah.
was gonna
Bigger
say
on the inside.
But like you can actually go outside on the edge of your like they actually added in 2 patches ago or last update the ability to go to this like observation deck, so you can actually step outside your freighter on the deck of it, like look outside in space. It's wild to see, but yeah, there's a
Wow.
lot of stuff with the freighter, And there's crew
Guys,
on it that you talk to, and there's vendors and stuff.
we missed an opportunity. We've offended Star Wars, Star Trek, Firefly fans. We haven't offended Doctor Who fans yet. I tried, but it didn't really go there.
Doctor Who? Who?
Doctor
There
Who?
Who?
Dr. what? Dr.
Yeah,
Pepper?
Doctor what? Doctor what? It's the
Dr.
knockoff
Pepper.
version. It's
Delicious.
it's the Mr. Pibb of Doctor Who.
Does that
The
give you kidney
Dr.
stones too?
Thunder. Wow. Yeah, anything gives you kidney stones in overabundance. God. Go Mariners. You're killing me.
Yeah, skeet shooting, man. They're Mariners. Go.
Skeet surfing. That
Is-
reminds me of Top Secret. It's a great movie.
Random question. You talked
Yeah.
about building a racetrack on a planet. Is the freighter big enough to build a racetrack?
You can't put. I don't think you can use your vehicles on the freighter. Although I haven't tried, but you can
I
definitely.
don't think you can. You can only park your ship in it, but I don't
That's
think you
it.
can get any other vehicles.
Uninstalling. Wolf, don't accept that gift. Send it back. Let's go.
Yeah,
Fine.
game's trash. Yeah.
Game's trash.
I
What
mean,
a
I'm just
pile of garbage.
since I know so little about this game, I'm just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall right now
Absolutely.
with my questions.
Absolutely.
Honestly, the questions you're asking are all fairly legitimate questions to be asking. It's not like you're just like, what's the weirdest thing I could ask? Because the answer might very possibly be, yeah, you can do that.
Well, because I do play games in an unusual manner sometimes, and with a game like this, I'm sure I'm going to find all sorts of things like, you know, probably not a lot of people play the game this way. I won't venture to say I'll be the first to play the game the way I do, not by a long shot. But I would venture to say that probably no more than maybe 10 to 15% of players are going to play the way I do because I find weird ways to play games. I always have.
Well, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong, you can build a teleporter on your freighter, I think. So if you didn't want to
Yeah, I
build
think you
a
can.
base on a planet right away, you just want to use your freighter as a mobile base, you totally could do that. Because
Okay.
like there's actually a mission thing on the freighter where you can actually recruit other freighters to be part of your fleet and send them off on little mini resource missions. So like you could spend a lot of time on your freighter if that's what you wanted to do.
Did you just tunic break my brain? Did you just throwing a teleporter on your freighter? Does your freighter come along with you when you teleport like your spaceship? Does your freighter teleport into its own teleport?
I think if you're on a planet and you teleport to another planet, there's an option to call your freighter fleet to the planet you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
think
lets
that's
you
how it
pick
works.
where it shows up in the sky. You see it in the atmosphere on from the planet. It's really cool.
Okay, so it's not this like sucking into itself.
Yeah, it doesn't
No.
fold
mechanism.
space
No.
into itself. No.
It does warp though.
Okay.
It's a good
Awesome.
game. It's a fun game, and you guys have yet again. I got an itch. I probably have to scratch at some point this weekend.
Well,
Even though it's October.
I saw Brother of Sin in chat on YouTube a little bit ago. I'm going to pressure him because I do want to try this multiplayer. Brother of Sin, get yourself the space anomaly where you can call it, and let's go.
Let me know how that is. I'm curious how the multiplayer works. I think it's 4
Yeah.
players.
I was
No
gonna
man to
say
cancel.
Afterwards, we can have no man to or press B to sky. We can have a press B to
B.
sky.
Press
B to
no
man.
man's B.
Press B to man cancel.
I ain't pressing no man's B.
Exactly. Love how
And with
animated
that-
you were about that.
Yeah. For those that are listening to this later, go to YouTube. Watch me flail. Also,
Hey, no man's B get touched
pressbtocancel.com.
here.
pressbtocancel.com. All of our links are there. Discord, YouTube, everything. Go there, join us, subscribe, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Press
please if
B
you're
the flamethrower.
watching us on YouTube, please click the like button and hit subscribe. Especially that like button. It does help, actually, surprisingly, as we try and hack this
Jake,
algorithm.
You don't press the like button. You smash that like button. Smash.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Smash the like button, hit the bell, all other crap, but it does help.
All of the things.
Smash
all of the things. And you know, word of mouth goes a long way. Please share.
Yes,
Please
that
share
too.
for sure.
Yeah.
There, I'm
You
done.
know what else?
I'm done shilling for ourselves.
You know what else got smashed today? Blue Jays by the Mariners.
No.
Let's go.
Oh my
no.
god.
You and your
Let's
football
go.
knowledge, okay? Look, it's fine. The Jays made the
Look,
playoffs. They'll be good.
soccer's fine, but you got to talk about it all the time.
Yep. Yes, I do. After 22 years, I'm gonna talk about it as much as I want.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of touched on a lot of everything. Any points that anybody has pressing that they want to press B? Any points that they want to press B on?
I'll just start with this. Take anything that you have heard about the previous iterations of this game and throw them out the window, because it is far better, a much better game than it was when it first hit the streets. So give it a shot, try it out, and go in with I'd say go in with an open mind, as if it could be bad, but it's more or less go in with an open mind on the ability of things you're going to be able to do, because there's quite a bit.
Yeah, don't be
I'm
afraid to open up a
excited to
wiki for this game,
Yeah.
because like there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of game that is not explained to you. So if there's something you see in the game you don't understand, go look it up. You're not ruining anything, honestly. Like lore and plot is not there is some in the game, but don't worry about it. Focus on learning how to play the game, because it does not always handhold you at all. But it's still
At
great.
All right.
And it is confusing at times. Now, from what I understand, this latest patch has refined early game.
You can actually
But-
disable the tutorial. If you are like me and you restart every 6 months like a moron, you can now skip the tutorial entirely. Or if you want, you
Nice.
can go to a save and adjust the difficulty settings. Like for me personally, this morning I turned off the fuel cost for the mining laser, and it's already an infinitely better game for me. Because that's
Probably
one thing I
gonna
didn't
turn
like
that
about this
off,
game.
too.
Yeah, the grinding in this game I did not care for. I love building and crafting, but I don't want to spend 3 hours harvesting carbon. And this lets you alleviate some of that, and it's awesome. It really is awesome.
Also, for those that pick it up on Switch, come to our Discord or comment. Let us know what you think. I'm
Yeah.
interested. I'm not going to pick it up for Switch yet, but if it has enough Switch goodness, having a portable version may be awesome. Let us know.
Or just get a Steam Deck. Problem solved.
This
You're
is true.
buying, I'll take one.
Is it certified for Steam Deck?
Oh, I
That's a
don't
good
know.
question. I'm
it
not
probably
sure.
is, because you can run it.
I would be shocked if
Yeah.
it wasn't, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Do they list on the Steam store page if it is or not?
They have
do.
a
I know
deck
that there's only certain
verified.
games on there, but from everything I've seen, you see stuff like
It says
No Man's
recently
Sky.
verified No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And that's another call out. Steam Deck is no longer pre-order or pre-whatever. It is purchase outright.
God, I want
They will
one.
ship within 1 to 2 weeks, I think.
They're expensive,
Merry
though.
Christmas to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my wife's
Or
got
I
all the
was
links.
wanting
I
to
sent
get
them over
that-
to her.
I was wanting to get that loop deck, but
Well,
Loop Deck's life
Loop Deck,
changer. That's another story, but Loop
Loop-
Deck's life changer.
Loop Deck is like half the price of the best Steam Deck. So, decisions.
fair.
He's not wrong. But I'll tell you what, this Loop Deck, we'll talk about it sometime. It's cool as hell. Or you just come
We
over
should
to my
have-
place and I show it off to you. It's simple as
We
that.
should actually do a streaming episode where we discuss streaming and what we've been through for it.
Well,
45 minutes of Jake
let's-
talking about Leon board.
There you go.
it's better than Char talking about the Mariners for an entire episode. Go Mariners!
I know hockey is good, but come on.
Hockey's great, but the Mariners are greater.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen, or are we good here?
I'm good. I think we've covered a lot. There's
I'm
too
good.
much to really dig deep into this game. We could get lost in a black hole, in something like this. So just try it out and maybe one day when we've played a little bit more amongst ourselves, we can be like, oh, look at all these other things. And in the next 3 months, there'll be undoubtedly another update of patch of some kind that's super cool. And we can talk about it then. But there's just too much to really discuss without just scratching the surface. There's a lot of things in this game.
There are black holes in this game.
There are, yeah.
There are.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go the rounds. Let's see, Jake, where can people find you and what are you up to?
Mostly find me on Twitter, occasionally on TikTok, and I have a couple of videos up on YouTube, so check me out there. Sick Jake, SICJAKE.
Wolf, where can
Ronaldo.
people find you and what are you up to?
Mostly here. Hopefully, I can get around to that YouTube channel sooner than later. We are getting the kiddos' school a little bit more streamlined lately, so frees up a little more time for me. So yay!
Charred Monk, I guess we got to ask you.
You don't have to ask me nothing, but you can find me in all kinds of locations, Twitch, YouTube, here, of course. Currently, I have a green screen behind me simulating my room because I'm standing on top of the Space Needle, screaming my lungs out, "Go Mariners." But yes, we're doing a bunch of scary games over in the old Twitch box this coming year. We just finished Madison, which was a spectacular game, and we started up Outlast. So if you like to see me poop myself on stream, trust me, it's all toss associated. You're come on by, check us out, hang out. You'll see Sinistar making fun of me usually.
Yeah, you can find me chatting in Charred Monk's chat, giving him a hard time. I have actually agreed that I will do at least one Sisyphean stream this month, probably this coming Monday, which would be whatever October. What's this Monday?
16th,
October
I think. 16th,
10th. October
no,
10th.
10th. I'm thinking the following weekend.
Yeah.
Yep. And then at some point, I too will be doing a scary game. I mentioned Outlast, although I don't think I'm as scared of Outlast as I used to be. So maybe something that scares me a little bit more. We'll see. Yeah, twitch.tv/Sinistar77.
And I know we're going to try and do a couple horror themed episodes of Press B this month as well. We got a couple ideas lined up. So
special guests that many people know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Werewolf, do you have a takeout for us?
Space. Gotta see space.
Perfect. We brought in Portal. We're offending the Portal people.
Full circle.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
I got a way to close this. Go Mariners! Let's go!
Yet.